Good morning, students. I hope my screen is visible to you. Is it visible to you?
No, Priyambiha ma'am. Are you sharing your screen?
Yes.
But it's not visible. Rajesh, is that visible to you?
No, ma'am.
It's not visible?
Yeah.
No. Now it's
Directly
visible.
now visible.
Yeah, now we can see.
Okay. Okay. Good morning, students. Today, we are going to learn about one of the interesting topic, which is known as CSS. So in today's session, we are going to cover up about the topic, which is known as what is CSS, syntax of CSS, what are the selectors, means different types of selectors are there with respect to CSS, how to add CSS with respect to inline, external, as well as internal. And we are going to learn about how to add the comment statement in CSS and some of the basic properties of CSS. So these are the topics we are going to learn in today's session. Coming to the point about what is CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheet. So Cascading Style Sheet, it is a style sheet language. It is also a kind of language only, as similar to the HTML language, Python, Java, Perl, such a kind of thing only CSS also. So CSS is a cascading style sheet language, which is mainly used to describe, look, and formatting of a document, which is written in markup language. What do you mean by markup language? Markup language is nothing but HTML, hypertext markup language. So CSS is mainly used to describe the look and formatting of a document, which is written in markup language. CSS is also used along with the HTML and JavaScript, mainly in most of the websites, especially to create user interface. I hope you know what is the meaning of user interface. GUI based, graphical user interface. So user interface for both web application as well as mobile applications. For both web application as well as the mobile application, we need to use the CSS along with the HTML as well as the JavaScript. So HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are used for web designing, where it helps, especially CSS helps the web designers to apply the style on HTML tags. What do you mean by HTML tags? In the last class, Mr. Sriraman sir had said about different sort of tags. So some of the examples, let me explain you. Example, paragraph is a tag. So always HTML tags will comes with less than and greater than symbol. You guys knew about what is meant by self-closing tags also and tags also. Self-closing tags means where you don't have, no need to have a two sort of tags, like starting as well as the ending tag. Only a single tag will be there. That is considered to be self-closing tag. Generally, we used to write as like br/ or else we used to write it as br or hr/ or hr. These are called as self-closing tags. So paragraph means generally we need to have it with paragraph. Then whatever the content you wanted to keep it over here, then paragraph should be closed. So if it is a button, then we need to write down as button. And here we need to write down click me. Then we need to close it as button. So these are called as tags. So CSS is widely used language on the web. So you need to learn about the CSS in order to make your web designing in a presentable way. So the basic is CSS. So many more versions also came, like CSS 3 is also there. I hope you guys at least come across the word as HTML5. Right now you are learning about the HTML. So in HTML, if you wanted to do, like HTML is only for designing purpose. If you wanted to do any sort of manipulation, then you are depending upon the JavaScript. So right now HTML5 also came into the picture. So with respect to the HTML5, you don't want to depend upon the JavaScript entirely. You can able to write down the manipulation code also inside the HTML5 code itself, like animation, all those things you could able to do it in HTML5. So initially you need to learn about the HTML clearly, then you can able to go ahead with the HTML5. You need to always go with the recent trends, but for going to the recent trends, basic things you need to learn, then only you can go ahead with the recent trends. Hope you guys are clear with what is meant by CSS. Now, what does CSS do? As I said that CSS, you can add the new looks to your old HTML documents. For that purpose only, CSS is used. So let us see one sort of example for it. How, like without the CSS, how the HTML document will be there, and with the CSS, how the HTML document will be there. See, I'm using VS Code only. Whichever the editor you are comfortable, you can able to proceed with that. Generally, why I'm moving with the if it is a beginner, if you are a beginner, mostly preferable is to go ahead with the Notepad only, because like whenever we are going with the editor, it will be giving you hands-on input itself. For example, if I'm writing something like a paragraph likewise, then automatically it will be autocomplete tag will be there. So that is the benefit of being using the editor. But when you are going with the when you are starting newly, then it is recommended to go ahead with the Notepad. Then only you can able to understand or else memorize the syntax in a clear way. So whichever the editor you are comfortable, you can able to proceed with that. So I'm convenient with the VS Code, so I'm proceeding with the VS Code here. Now look at here, what I have written, just HTML. General practice is like we need to have a head tag, but if you are not mentioning the head tag also, it will be workable only. So like some head tags are like automatically while compiling, it will be considered as a head tag. Okay. So HTML tag will be the first line of statement. Then second line, either you can able to give a head tag or not needed, not required also. Now consider that HTML tag is there, then we are having a body tag. So always we need to write down the textual information which should be displayed on a web application inside the body tag only. So this is mandatorily you need to write down. Body tag should be there. And within the body tag, whatever the elements you wanted to keep it, everything you could able to keep it in this place. Consider that I'm taking a simple element, which is nothing but paragraph. So how we are supposed to write down? We need to write down paragraph, starting tag, then we need to have an ending tag. Within that, we can able to write whatever the content you wanted to keep it, everything you can able to write it over here. Now, so now I have written a code like this. Now how it will be getting run? Let us check out the output for this. Look at here. Now, when I'm running this code, what I'm getting, like open mentor means inside the paragraph, whatever the content I have written, those things are being mentioned over here. Open mentor, learning CSS, me too, and me. That's it. Now I wanted to highlight and this text. Then what I supposed to do? Then I'm depending upon the CSS properties. So for that, you need to know how we can able to write down the CSS. So where we can able to write down the CSS in 3 different ways. One is inline property, second one is internal CSS, and third one is external CSS. What makes the difference between these 3 things are like inline CSS means, for example, if you wanted to keep whatever the attributes which sir had explained you in the last class, within the paragraph, means within the paragraph, you could able to write down style equal to, and you could able to mention value property. Like you could able to write down the property and the value for it. You need to know about, first of all, what is the syntax of the CSS. So first, let me explain about the syntax of CSS. Then let us move ahead to the code. So CSS, you can completely change the look of your website with only a few changes in the CSS code. That is the major advantage of using the CSS. Now, three major benefits of CSS are recursive formatting for each web page. For example, if you are going to create a web page, it may be consist of more than one HTML pages. So in that case, you can't able to write in each and every page how the look and feel should be there. So in CSS, with the help of CSS, you could able to write down the entire styles at one page, and you can able to apply the same in different web pages also. So recursive formatting for each and every web page will be reduced. So that is the major benefit of CSS. Because of that, it saves the lot of time, and CSS having more number of attributes. So with the help of those attributes, you could able to make your web page in a very presentable way. So that is why we need to use the CSS. Now this is the CSS syntax. The most important thing which you need to keep in your mind is CSS means where we need to have a selector. Then secondly, we need to have a declaration block with curly braces. The selector is nothing but HTML element is considered to be the selector. Okay. So H1, paragraph, body tag, then button, input, all those things are considered to be the selector. Inside the declaration block, we are supposed to write down the property and value. So what is property? Property is nothing but how the web page should be in a presentable way. Means whether you wanted to keep your text color to be yellow, background color to be blue, background image I wanted to keep it, how the cursor should be represent, how my font size should be there, width of my text, each and everything you could able to give the instruction to the computer. As you know very well, computer will always follow the instruction. The same way your code also, it will be follow. CSS will follow the instruction step by step manner. So for that purpose, you need to mention for each and every element the property and the value of it. So now here in this example, we are having a two property. One is color, second one is font size. What is the value for that color property? Yellow. And font size is 11 pixel. As you know that pixel measurement is nothing but like in computer, like you will be having a measurement for image size, even screen size. Likewise, you can able to have a measurement for each and everything, like a font size. For all of those things, we will be having a measurement as pixels only. Px is nothing but pixels. So I hope you guys understood about the syntax of CSS. Shall we proceed ahead with the code part? Okay. Let us move ahead with the code part. Now look at here. So what I have written, without the CSS, we had seen the output. We had seen the output as just having a textual information alone. Now, if we wanted to have some sort of style, then what we can able to do, as I said, that there are three different ways are there: inline, internal, as well as external. Let us not go ahead with those things in deep. Let us go ahead with simple example with respect to internal alone right now. Then later I will be in the after a few minutes, I will be explaining about the inline as well as external also. Now look at here. Now, okay, so now consider that I'm going to use the internal style sheet. So internal style sheet means where I wanted to write down as inside the head tag, I need to mention the style. Means where we need to have a start tag as well as the end tag also. Now inside this only I'm going to mention about each and everything. So there are different types of selectors are there. Okay, so selector is nothing but where it indicates HTML element you want to style. How you wanted to style your HTML element. That is nothing but selector. It could be any tag like H1, title, etc., whatever it may be. Okay. So like we are having a different type of CSS selector. Okay. So what are the different type of CSS selectors are? Nothing but element selector, ID selector, class selector, universal selector, as well as group selector. So for each and every selector, let us see some sort of examples. Let me take the first selector is nothing but element selector. Element selector means which selects the HTML element by name. That is nothing but element selector. Now consider I'm taking paragraph as an element. Okay. So now for paragraph, I'm going to set the style for it. So I need to mention as P. Then as you know very well, selector I have written. Then we need to have a curly braces. Inside the curly braces, we need to write down the property and the value. Okay. So here I'm using the property as text align left. Background color should be aqua. Now let us see how the output will be. Can you able to see the difference over here? So we are having a text in the left and background color to be in aqua. So this is the difference without the style as well as with the style. Now let us do some more things, some more properties over here. Let me keep it as center. And let me keep the color to be pink, whatever it may be. Then next, I wanted to make the color of the text also. Okay, color of the text. Let me keep some black or what shall I keep? Okay. Then, okay, now for the text, it is over. For the paragraph, it is over. Let me keep some sort of style sheet for the body tag. Okay, so now inside the body tag, I'm going to keep a background color. Background color, let us keep something green. Or else, if you're keeping background color, like a background color, it becomes green. Then we have kept the background in paragraph also we have kept, which was black. So that's why you could able to see like this. And color of the text, we kept it as red color. Okay, so now let us make it as background color to be. Okay, and instead of a background color, I'm going to make it as background image. Background images, like whatever the image I wanted to keep it, I can able to keep it over there. So what I need to make it as background images, URL I need to mention, then I need to mention the file name. I hope I'm having a file name as th. Means the meaning of that is you need to keep the code as well as the image at the same location. Otherwise, you need to mention the entire path at that location. Can you able to see the difference? Are you able to follow me? So this is what, like you just need to understand about URL, like whether if you have kept the image at the same location, then you can able to mention it over like this. If it is a different location, then you need to mention the entire path itself. This is the thing about the CSS selector, means element selector. So nextly, like if you understood about the element selector, let us move ahead with the ID selector. Look at here. What is the difference between the element selector and the ID selector is nothing but in element selector means where I have kept up only the element name. Okay. ID selector means I'm keeping it hashed before the element, means element in the sense before the ID name, I'm keeping it over here. Okay. So look at here, ID selector means selects the ID attribute of an element to select a specific element. Okay. So an ID is nothing but unique within the page, so that it is chosen to select a single unique element. This is the meaning of ID selector, which is written with hash character, which is followed by the ID of the element. So hash character, look at here. Paragraph ID is equal to para 1. Paragraph ID is equal to para 1. So now I need to mention the name of this para in the style sheet. And before that, I need to give the hash. So now you could able to feel the difference at this place. Now, like for this, for open mentor, you will be having a color as blue. And for the paragraph, you will be having a color as RGB. See, for open mentor, we are having a color as blue. And for this, we are having a color as pink color. So whatever you wanted to keep it, you could be able to keep it. And you need to keep in your mind as what makes the difference. Like if you are asking me a question, ma'am, both the selectors are going to use the same way. Like here also we are going to give a property value and it is going to set it, as well as in ID selector also it is going to do it. So what makes the difference is nothing but like whenever you are going with the ID selector, as I said that it is unique, it is having a higher precedence than compared to the other selectors. So if you are going to keep it at like a common one, and if you wanted to keep for some of the tags specifically for the single page, like we may be having a more than one HTML pages. First HTML page for the respective, like for the respective element tag, you need to have a different sort of view. So in that case, you can able to go ahead with the ID selector. If you don't want, you can able to keep it commonly also. Okay, so this is the difference between the paragraph as well, means ID selector as well as the element selector. So the next thing is about the class selector. What is another sort of selector is nothing but class selector. So class selector means where you need to understand what is mean the class selector first of all. Class selector means selects the HTML element with specific class attribute. So priorly what we had seen, element selector means in a single web page, I may be having more than one paragraph tag, more than one button tag, more than one input tag, like I may be having more than one. So if I'm going with the element selector, then what makes sense for the entire web page, wherever the respective element tag has been used, I will be applying the same sort of styles. This is what element selector will do. What I said about ID selector, if I wanted to have a specific style sheet for the respective selector, then means respective tag element, I can able to go ahead with the ID selector. Class selector means it is not depending upon the element, where I may be having a paragraph or, for example, input, button, like different sort of tags I may be having. For paragraph as well as button, I need to have a same style sheet. Likewise, also some sort of requirement we may be getting. So in that case, how to do it? For that case, we can go ahead with the class selector. So how it is going to be work out is just we need to give a period, means period character in the sense dot operator before a user defined value. Before a user defined value. This subscribe button is nothing but user defined value. And before that, we are going to give a dot operator. So what makes sense is how we are going to use it in HTML tag is like here, as I said that we will be mentioning a property and the value. These properties, I hope so you can able to understand. Like background color, border radius. Background color in the sense, background color will be changed. Color means text color will be changed. How the border should be there, border radius. Cursor in the sense whether you need to have a pointer, means pointer in the sense you could able to see here my cursor means it is eye shape you are having. Hand shape if I wanted to have it. Like if I wanted to have a scroll bar, means like if I wanted to extend the width and all those things, how I will be getting some sort of double slash and arrow mark will be there, like how the cursor should be represented, that I can able to make changes over here. That is the okay, sorry. That is nothing but cursor. Then margin, how I wanted to keep it, right, left, padding, padding, as I said in the last class itself, I have explained in a doubt clearance session, as well as Sri Raman sir also explained about it many times. Once again, let me explain. Padding is nothing but which is used to create space around an element content. Instead of any defined border is nothing but padding. For example, if we are having a box. Now that inside that box, I'm having some sort of element tag, which is having some sort of text. Now above the text, left, right, bottom, how much space should be there? That I can able to do it with the help of padding, especially when whenever you're going ahead with the button. So inside the button, you are having one sort of text. So that text above, left, right, and bottom, how much space should be there? That you could able to fix it with the help of padding, top, bottom, left, right. This is the thing, the same way transition and vertical element and all those things. Let me explain about the opacity also. First, let me show you what are the HTML tags are there. So see, listen here, I'm having a HTML tag button, button, button. 3 buttons are there. And value is subscribe, join, tweet. Now, if we are proceeding with the element selector, then what happens? For each and every button, I will be having the same sort of style sheets only. If I'm proceeding with the ID selector, then I can able to have a different sort of things. But ID selector is the precedence things. Like if you wanted to go ahead with the class selector, you could able to write down many much more things also. Like in a class selector, you are writing subscribe button. This is a user defined value which you have mentioned above in the style tab. Now, what makes the difference over here? Let me show you the output. See, now you could able to see like a subscribe, join, tweet. 3 buttons are there, but it is too large. I wanted to reduce it. How I can able to do it? Which property I have used means I need to go ahead with each and every separate class property. Now for the subscribe, I'm having a class property as subscribe button. For the join, I'm having the class property as join button. For the tweet, I'm having the class property as tweet button. So let us move ahead with the subscribe first of all. So for the subscribe, what we need to do here in this place, we are having a background color as red, color as white, border as 20 pixel. Let us make it as like border radius as 2 pixel, cursor like this. Likewise, we are having. So let us make like border radius or 2 pixel. Likewise, if we are making changes with those things, you could able to see the difference at that place. So instead of background color, let me make it as blue. See, you could able to see the differences, blue color. Border radius is nothing but like you could able to see the curve here. Means like slightly you could able to see the curve. So this is like border radius. If you wanted to change it, how much you wanted to make it. Look at the tweet, how much it is. Too much curvy. So if you wanted to do like that, you can able to go ahead with those things. Same thing, like cursor pointer in the sense like if you are wanted to have a cursor pointer like this, hand symbol is there. So if you wanted to have like different sort of things, you could able to mention it over there. For example, let me make changes as her. See, now it is like crosshair. I'm getting my cursor as crosshair. Likewise, so many things are available with respect to the cursor also. For each and every property, we are having a different sort of values. Just you need to go through like what are the different values are there, and accordingly you can able to use it. Here itself you could able to see all those things like allies, all scroll, auto, cell, call, resize. Like column resize is nothing but if you wanted to resize like how the symbol should be there. Look at here. Generally, like if we wanted to have a column resize, means functionality we have to write down, but right now I'm just showing with respect to the design part alone. Okay, so design part, you could able to see the difference of my cursor. This is nothing but call resize. So like we are having so many values for each and every property. Likewise, we are having much more things like copy means how the icon should be there for the copy, resize, grab, grabbing, help, move, and resize. Like so many values are there with respect to the property of cursor. You can able to use many things. So generally, if we are going for the click option, then we will be proceeding with the pointer only. So I'm mentioning here as pointer. So margin, right, left, all those things are nothing but where exactly my button should be there. Position of my button, padding top, bottom, left, right. As I said that how much spacing should be there after the text, whatever the text I'm having it over here. Now about the subscribe, how much space should be there, left, right, down, all those things I can able to mention it as padding. Okay, so now the same way. Next important thing is about the opacity. Okay, so opacity means like mainly what I can say, it ranges from 0 to 1 only. Okay, opacity, it ranges from 0 to 1. It's nothing but transparency of an element is nothing but opacity. So transparency of the element, how much I can able to give it. I can able to mention it with the value over here. It ranges from 0 to 1. So 0.2 means it is a low opacity value. So you could able to see here, whenever I'm moving the cursor, you could able to see the opacity level. Meaning of that is the cursor is above the button. So I wanted to make it different color for it. So that's why it is showing like this. Now consider if I'm going to change it to 0.8. Are you able to follow me, everyone? Okay. So now you could able to see the difference here. See, whenever I'm going, like you could not like light dim. It is just going with light dim only. So this is the difference of opacity. Okay, before proceeding further, let me see if you have any sort of doubts. Uh, what is no, ma'am? I just saw the emojis. Like, can you able to follow me or not? Not visible. It is initial stage. Okay, blank screen. Yes, ma'am. Okay, what is mean by attributes? Okay, I hope Abhirami ma'am had answered for you guys. Is the difference between element selector and the para selector? As I said, para nahi, it is like ID selector. Element selector and ID selector. Element selector, I said many things. Okay, element selector means for a HTML page, I will be having more than element may be occurred at more than one time. So in that case, if I wanted to keep the same style sheet for all sort of element, then I can able to go ahead with the element selector. ID selector in the sense, element selector will be appearing for same style sheet for similar tags. If I wanted to have a different style sheet for respective tag, then in that case I can able to go ahead with the ID selector. Can you able to understand what I said? Like see, let me show you some sort of example, then you could able to understand clearly. Now look at here in this place, I'm using paragraph. Okay, so now I wanted to give a element selector also. Then hash, let me give something like button 1 or something like this. Then in this place, I can able to give like text um, alignment or whatever it may be, alignment right or something that I'm giving. Then specifically, I need to mention the button tag also over here. Here, if it is element selector, I don't wanted to mention the attribute as ID. But here, I need to mention the attribute as ID. And here, I need to mention the ID name. So ID name is button 1 for us. Okay, so button name likewise. Then I need to mention here, click me. Likewise, I need to mention specifically if I wanted to give it over there, likewise. So, okay, so you need to make it like this, like paragraph means element selector means only element name will be there. ID selector means you will be having a hash prior to that. And wherever the ID selector should be representable, then you need to mention the attribute of it and you need to mention the name of the ID also. Okay, so I'm keeping at what location body color you could able to see over here. Button where I'm keeping text align should be right. Likewise, I have kept. So whatever the content inside the button, that should be in the right. Means our button size itself, like predefined one we have used. So that's why it is showing very small. If you are increasing the button size, then you could able to see the difference on it. So click me, it is going to be at this location. Now look at here and me, which it is taking. Look at the code over here. So we are using ID selector for the paragraph as well as the element selector also. Both the selector are using means P or paragraph also having a text align and ID selector is also having a text align. As I said that which selector will be having a precedence, ID selector will be having the precedence. So that's why whenever you are not using this ID attribute, it will be coming in the left, but whenever using the ID selector, it goes on the right. Is that clear? Is it clear? Okay. So what is the, it is the space between, okay, ma'am had answered for it. One selector and para register can we use multiple block for same ID in style sheet? Yes, right now also I had used the same. So ID means ID selector, ID should be unique, but you could able to use a style of that ID in different sort of elements. Okay, teach slowly. Dinesh, okay. Dinesh, is it clear or I wanted to repeat any other topic? Dinesh, is it clear or okay? Tell about ID selector much clear, how to link HTML with CSS. Let me explain about the external CSS. It's going to be in the upcoming topic. I got point now, ma'am, for specifying the ID in CSS, we should use has. Yes, hope. Okay, explain transition property. Okay, Dinesh Babu, which topic I wanted to explain to you? Like you said me, thought it slowly. So I just wanted to know like any other topic that you are not being clear, please mention it in a chat window. I can able to repeat it once again for you. Okay, clear, but slowly teacher. Okay, fine. I will go ahead very slowly. Let me go ahead with the transition right now. And I will be proceeding with the linking HTML with CSS also. Explain again CSS. Okay. See,
Ma'am,
transparency is nothing but. Huh?
ma'am. Those who
Yes.
joined late are asking about the initial stage. I think they can refer the recorded videos
Okay.
for
Thank you.
further explanation. Yeah,
Okay.
we
Thank you,
can
ma'am.
go ahead with other topics because we are
Okay.
having very short time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So transparency is nothing but like opacity. Opacity is nothing but transparency of an element. Transparency is nothing but how much it is being visible to you. Like whether it is getting hidden or it is being visible very clearly. Like for some of the requirement, what makes sense is like for particular login people, I should not show the button. For some of the people, I need to make it visible. Okay, so for that purpose, I can able to go ahead with the transparency. Meaning of that, like if you are going to make it as 0 or something like this, means how much you wanted to make it visible. Means some sort of difference you need to show. Whether the cursor, if it is moving above the cursor, so in that case, you need to show some sort of difference. Yes, right now it is above the button. So such a kind of difference you can able to show it with the help of the opacity property. That is nothing but transparency of an element. An element, it may be a paragraph, whatever it may be, whatever the element it may be. For any element, you can able to set the opacity level. It ranges from 0 to 1. So that's what I said in the output. You could able to see here in example 3. See, this is what nothing but transparency I'm saying. Like whenever you're moving your cursor to the above the button, you could able to feel the difference. Like light and it is becoming dark. So this is what like opacity I'm saying. If you wanted to decrease it, you could able to decrease it also. Like you need to be very clear, like for which um, for which class property we are doing. Like we are doing it for subscribe button. So for that purpose, you need to mention it over here. Like for example, if I'm making it as 1. Okay, so you could able to see hutch over, like what is mean by hutch over active. Let me explain it. See, priorly what we had seen about the class property. So in the class property, nothing. Just we need to have a user defined name. Prior to that, we need to have a dot operator. Now let us, these are considered to be hutch over active or considered to be events of the mouse pointer. Like when the mouse pointer is moving above the button. So in that case, what I need to do? Generally, when it has been active, so during that time, what should be my opacity level? So those things you could able to make it. Means when I'm clicking that, how much opacity level should be there. Those things I can able to design it over here. So if I'm making it as 0.1, see, uh, can you able to see it right now? When I'm clicking, it is showing somewhat dark. When my cursor is moved above the button, it is very dim because my opacity level is 0.1. When I'm removing, my opacity level is good. So when I'm clicking, that I'm also, I can able to keep some sort of opacity level. So that is nothing but active. Subscribe button active. I hope now you got my point about what is opacity. Explain again. Can be able to attend the weekly test without enrolling the course. Try to attend the lectures where you could able to write down the test in a very good manner. HTML code send, ma'am. Okay, I will send all the HTML code. Can we use dot also, ma'am? Can we use dot means like for that is what class property, class selector. Class selector means we need to have a dot operator before the user defined name, and you need to use it inside the HTML code. as class is equal to, likewise you need to mention, like id equal to, likewise we have written, right? The same way we need to use the attribute class is equal to subscribe button, likewise we need to mention. Class means always we need to have a dot operator only. I have said the difference also, like what makes the difference between element selector, class selector, as well as the id selector. What is like opacity 0.15, what does mean? Same, like it will be having dim, like a level of those things, like as I said that opacity level will be 0 to 1, so you could able to make it likewise, like how much dim you wanted to have it and all those things you can able to make it over here. Then I'll go slowly, ma'am, to explaining. Okay, where is the recorded videos first, ma'am? As like Abhirami ma'am priorly said, you will be get to know about where actually it is. Abhirami ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
can you please answer this? Like, where is the recorded videos?
Yeah, I have mentioned in the chat box. Please
Okay,
go through that. I have
okay,
already sent all the details in the chat box and I have broadcasted to all.
okay, okay. Active means, like as I said, that active is nothing but like when you are going to click during that time, what's opacity level should be there. Let me show the difference of it. See, when I'm going with active, so if I'm going with like 8 or 9, then you could able to feel the difference. Like while clicking the button, how much opacity level should be there. That I can able to design it over here. So while clicking also we could able to see. See, now let me make changes over here as to dim level. See, while clicking, it is going to dim and coming back to the place. So this is nothing but active. Hope you could able to feel the difference. Uh, how to change the color cursor point in button. Like a cursor point is there. Like if you wanted to change the color of the cursor, like same way, like you here itself, cursor color. Good question. Cursor color. Let me check it out and give you answer. Because I have never used the color for the cursor. Let me check it out. Sorry for it. Difference between hover as well as active. As I said, however, hover is means handover. Means mouse pointer moving above the button, and active is nothing but while clicking of it. Recorded class, you will be like it is mentioned in the chat window, it is broadcasted. Please look at that place and you can able to go it. Send some example for CSS. Surely I will send all the example. I will share all the HTML documents with you. Okay, let me proceed further. So now next important thing is like see, I have explained about three sort of selectors, right? So I have explained about element selector, id selector, class selector. Then another two selectors are nothing but universal selector as well as the group selector. You need to know about this also. Like universal selector in the sense, whatever the tag it may be, keep the same sort of style sheet for all the elements, so that you can able to give it with the help of star. Means like just simply you need to give star. Means star means for all the tags like h2 paragraph, whatever the tags it may be, for every tag you need to have the same color as well as the font size. This is nothing but universal selector. Group selector is nothing but like you could able to group it, like I wanted to keep like h2 and paragraph, h2 comma paragraph. Likewise, for these two tags, keep this style sheet. For these three tags, keep these style sheets. Likewise, you could able to keep some sort of means you can able to group some of the tags and you can able to assign the property value for those grouping elements. That is nothing but group selector. I hope right now you have been very clear with what is in the element selector, ID selector, class selector, universal selector, as well as the group selector. Now let us proceed with the another important thing is how to add the CSS. Whatever we had seen right now till now is like internal CSS. We need to use the five sort of selector within the style tag. That is nothing but internal. Okay. Inline in the sense, in the prior class, Sri Raman sir had explained you about the attributes. So inside the attribute, you can able to have a style property, and within the style property, you can able to mention all those things. External means where you're going to keep a separate CSS file and you're going to give a link to that CSS file in the HTML tag. That within the HTML tag, that is considered to be external. Let us see some sort of example for it. Okay, now look at here, H1, where I'm using a inline CSS, So here I'm mentioning style, the color should be red, means property and the value I'm mentioning. Property color red, property margin left 40 pixel. Likewise, I'm mentioning. Now, if I need to proceed with the internal CSS, then I need to write down within the style tag. So within the style tag, I'm just mentioning the style of it. Okay. Then if I wanted to go ahead with the external CSS, then how I need to proceed? External CSS means where we are supposed to write down a separate file as with the extension as .css. So now with the external CSS.css, we need to have a extension as .css and we need to mention the same property value. Here also you can able to use all sort of selectors, element, ID, class, universal group. Whatever the selector you wanted to have it, everything you can able to keep it at this location. Now, in this place, the external CSS, how we are going to make a link. That is what this, like link relation is nothing but style sheet and type is nothing but text bar CSS, where it is located. HREF attribute we need to mention. If it is at the same location, meaning of that is like the code, HTML code and the CSS file, both the file are at the same location, then you can able to mention simply external CSS.css. If it is at different location, then you need to mention the exact path where it is located. This is what external CSS. Let us see the output of this. Okay, so inline CSS, internal CSS, external CSS, paragraph is not affected. So here you could able to see. So H1 as inline CSS means where we need to have a red margin left 40 pixel. So that's why you could able to feel the difference at this place. 40 pixel after that inline CSS is coming. Next, internal CSS for H2. H2 also we have kept it as red. Let us change the color to blue. Margin left as 80 pixel we have kept. So how the output should be? So we need to have a blue color and margin left as 80 pixel. Now the same way for the external CSS button. So we have used the element selector. See, for all those things, we have used the element selector only. We didn't use the ID or class or universal or group selector. So we have used the element selector, but you can able to use the other selectors also. Depending upon the need of the requirement, how web page should be, you need to decide what sort of selector you need to proceed. So button, so in that case, in button, we need to know what are the property values are there. Color is like nice we have kept, let us make it as green something. font size is large, like if I wanted to make, like, let it be extra large or something, likewise if I wanted to keep it, likewise you can able to go it. Why I'm going ahead with the editor is like, we don't wanted to worry about what are the values are there. So automatically it will be giving you list of things and you could able to proceed easily. But as a beginner, at least a few things you need to be very clear enough, then only you need to go ahead with the editor. Otherwise you will be fully depending upon the editor only. So try basic settings in the notepad, then you can able to proceed with the VS Code or whatever the editor you are comfortable. Then margin left, okay, green likewise. Okay, background color also we have kept it as green. Text color, okay. Background color, let us make it something likewise. So likewise, you could able to make changes. So only thing is you need to understand inline, internal, external, how it is going to be varied. And depending upon the requirement, you could able to use either inline or internal or else external. Mostly while developing, we will be proceeding with the external only. So if we are going with the Angular or anything else, by default, while creating a component or module, you will be having a CSS file. You could able to write down over there itself. Linking and all those things will not be there at all. But whenever you're going with the JavaScript, HTML, as well as CSS, so in that case, you need to have a link statement in the HTML tag. This is the thing about internal, external, as well as the inline. CSS properties are there. Like these are like few like basic properties. I'm just keeping it over here. Like CSS background, CSS cursor, border, button. Let me share you all the example.html files in a chat window. And you just take it out and you execute it just by changing the background color, image, repeat, cursor, buttons, border, whatever it is possible. You just do make changes in the existing code itself. You could able to feel the difference. So when you are just doing a practice continuously, then you can able to develop it on your own itself. So let me share. Okay, prior to that, prior to moving ahead with the exercise, let me share you the code first of all. I hope it is broadcasted to everyone. I will share the PPT also. If you are comfortable with basics, then you can go ahead. Okay. Let me share the other.
Excuse me, ma'am. With the class
Yes.
session over, we can stop the recording and we can go ahead with the exercises and other things.
Yeah, sure. You can stop the recording.